this is a very important topic, specifically, and we have to understand the topic when it comes to the effeminization of black men. Now, I'm going to say this, that black women are the cause of black men who are effeminate. Nothing else. Nothing more. Some people blame Christianity, some people blame tight jeans, some people blame other things besides that. Well, I'm here to tell you that none of these things are responsible for the effeminization of black males. Now, when it comes to the Christianity, to a small degree, yes, Christianity had to play a role. And also when it comes to chemical engineering, like the BPA in the bottled waters and also fluoride. But when you really study effeminization extensively, you find out that it's something really that is psychological. Okay, it's something that is really psychological. And when you look at it, when you have done your research and you have looked over the internet and gone through all the disinformation that's out there about the effeminization of men, you understand, you realize that there is an agenda purposely that they're putting false lies out there in the internet to make us now find out what actually causes a person to become effeminized, what causes a male to become effeminized. You understand? There's a lot of disinformation that's out there. But after doing my research over and over and over again, and looking at different avenues and finding out the answer on these many different avenues that's leading me to the same answer, I found out that it's actually black women that cause black men to become effeminate. Now, when you look at the word effeminate, this is a guy who's been stripped away of his masculinity. You understand? Men are not born effeminized. They're not born effeminized. Somebody had to train them. Somebody had to train them. Somebody had to emasculate them to become effeminate males. The effeminate male is a male with a broken spirit. His self-esteem is broken. This is the type of male that you're dealing with. This is a guy with excessive low self-esteem who think that he is the bottom of the barrel. And he honestly believed that about himself. You understand? And when you look at the characteristic traits, the effects of the effeminization of black males, you look at a guy who's timid, who's bashful, who is soft, a guy who is socially awkward, have no social skills, don't know how to interact with people, a guy who is an asexual, don't know how to interact with women, don't know how to deal with women, and so on and so forth. Listen, I'm not saying that every man that does not know how to deal with women is effeminate, no. But that's one of the things that's noticeable when it comes to a guy who is effeminate. This guy is very needy, very clingy. Not only that he's needy and clingy, but this guy is have no self-assurance and have no self-assurance in himself. This guy is unsure about his masculinity, you understand, and doesn't know that he's dysfunctional. Because most people who come from dysfunctional homes don't know that they're dysfunctional. Now, these type of men, you understand, who's timid, who's soft, who's very sensitive, these type of men have gone through physical and verbal abuse. Guaranteed they have gone through physical and verbal abuse. Now, when you look at the characteristic traits and you look what causes them, what causes timidness? What causes a person to become, to have excessive low self-esteem? What causes a person to be timid? What causes a person to be insecure? What causes a person to be running of the core engine of fear? To be fearful. This is a person who is traumatized. Okay? And when you look at black men, this is what they did to black men if you go through really their psychological program. And it's black women that are causing their black sons to become emasculated men. By belittling them, by physically abusing them, by verbally abusing them, the same way the slave master did unto the slave. Now, in order for the slave master to break down the slave, he would have to break him down. Okay? And I wanted to go to the willingness psychological program, because that was a program. You've heard of other programs, modern day programming, such as monarch programming, butterfly programming, MK trauma-based programming. These are programs that they use on their subjects to break them down physically, verbally, psychologically, so that they become the perfect slave. Alright? So that they become the perfect slave. Now, when you look at the Willie Lynch program, and I'm asking you guys to look at the Willie Lynch program under cardinal principles for making a Negro. Under the chapter of cardinal principles for making a Negro, it says this. Listen carefully. Excuse me. Both the horse and the nigger must be broken. That is, breaking them from one form of mental to life to another. Keep the body, take the mind. So in other words, when you read the sentence, keep the body, take the mind, the nigger must be broken, how do you break them? You break them physically and verbally. That's how you break a person. That's how the slave master broke the slave. He beat him to a bloody pulp. And now you have black women who are physically abusing their children. And this is not being spoken about at all when it comes to the black community. It's black women using physical assault, physical force to break down especially their black boys. You understand? To break down especially their black boys and use of verbal abuse to break down the black boys. Let's get into it. Under the chapter of cardinal principles for making a Negro, you must keep your eyes and thoughts on the female and the offspring of the horse and the nigger. You see, they must keep their eyes on who? The black woman. The same way Satan went to Eve, the black woman, and through her, she destroyed everything. The only problem with Adam is that he submitted unto his woman. When Adam should have corrected his woman and instruct his woman and told what her woman did was wrong and show her the way to do it. And that's the biggest problem with black men today. Believe it or not. When you look at this thing, it's black men being submissive unto these women. And they did this. They broke down the black male. Right? They broke down the black male by programming the black woman to break down her offspring, her sons. It says, pay little attention to the generation of the original breaking, but concentrate on future generation. Therefore, if you break the female mother, she will break the offspring in its early years of development. And when the offspring is old enough to work, she will deliver it up to you, for her normal female protective tendencies will have been lost in the original breaking process. Now, a mother is supposed to protect her offsprings. When you look at the animal kingdom, when you look at the animal, the lion, the female lion with her offspring, it doesn't matter who comes against her. She will do everything and risk her life to protect her children. Right? Black women are not doing this today. In other words, they're doing it backwards. Now, when it comes to the male who's effeminized, this is a guy who's been dominated by his mother, by his black mother. He couldn't choose the clothes he wanted to wear. He couldn't choose what he wanted to do. He couldn't hang out with these certain friends. And no soon as he act up, the black woman, the black mother, will use physical assault against that child. Whether it be an extension cord, a horsewhip, whatever it is that she could get in her hands to break down her son. She will cuss at him. She will physically assault him. And we all have seen this in public trains, public buses, in the streets, where a black mother will yell, will scream at her son, and use verbal abuse, use verbal abusive words, and beat the crap out of him and embarrass that black boy in front of everybody. And all the other black people seeing this will laugh at that black boy, and his self-esteem will go down the drain. And this is something that happens to black boys almost every day, living with this black, domineering, ball-busting bitch. Right? Now, let's move on, okay? Let's go under the breaking process of the African woman on the Willie Lynch status. Now, I'm reading the Willie Lynch status, and I'm going on the chapter that says the breaking process of the African woman. Now, if you read carefully where it says, take the female and run a series of tests on her to see if she will submit to your desires willingly. Test her in every way, because she is the most important factor for good economics. In this frozen psychological state of dependence, she will raise her male and female offspring in reverse roles. So who's raising these black boys to act like women? Who's raising these black boys and physically and mentally destroying these black boys? It's black mothers who are raising their children to be like this. But nobody is addressing this. No one is addressing this. Like, in order for you to break down these black boys, you're going to have to physically and verbally abuse them. Okay, now, continuing on the wiilie psychological letters. She will psychologically train him to be mentally weak and dependent. What do black women love to say about black men? These niggas are weak ass men. Weak ass niggas. These are weak black men. But my question to you, black women, since these black men are weak ass niggas and they're weak men, and the whole reason why the whole black community is destroyed is because these weak ass niggas, who's training these black boys to be weak ass niggas, to be weak ass men? It says here in this wiilie psychological program, it says she will psychologically train him to be mentally weak and dependent. She, being the mother, the black mother, will psychologically train her son, him, to be mentally weak and dependent, but physically strong. Because she has become psychologically independent, she will train her female offspring to be psychologically independent. What you've got the nigger woman out front and the nigger man behind and scared like a bitch. So, I'm going to give you an example where I've seen black women talk to their children in the train station, in the bus systems. I've seen how black women will just use the most outlandish, ratchet words against their black sons. And you have to understand that a child is a child, okay? A child is innocent, okay? A child is at his weakest moment mentally, psychologically, and physically. And here it is, he have this black bitch as a mother, stripping his self-esteem away, by publicly embarrassing him, by physically assaulting him in front of everybody, by talking down on him and using words like, you better sit the fuck down before I smack the shit out of you. Now, when you use these words, when you physically assault that child, what does it do to his self-esteem? You break him down. So now we have black women who are breaking down these black boys. Since the time these black boys come out of their womb, and by the time these black boys are in their teenage years, these black boys are broken. And the other side of the spectrum, you have these hood rat mothers who are raising their children, raising their black boys, thinking that it's cute that their black boys is a thug. And these black boys are searching for their masculinity, and they're searching for their masculinity outside in the streets, where you have the drug dealers, where you have the pimps, where you have the players, where you have the bad boys, the criminals, the thugs, and they're receiving their masculinity from these type of males. You understand? But at home, he's not receiving any type of discipline from this black woman. At that single parent home, he's not receiving. And the other side of the spectrum, you have these black boys who are coming from these single parent female headed household, or this two parent household. And if he's coming from a two parent household, he grew up with a father who was complacent. His father, the father of the effeminate male, didn't have a father figure in his household. And the mother is this domineering, controlling black bitch. You understand? So this is the cause of effeminization. Either way, when it's a single parent home, if that female is controlling this black boy to the point where she does not give him any type of freedom, if that female is being dominating over him, if that female is physically being the one that's physically taking the physical disciplinary action against him, that boy is going to become effeminized. Either way. So black women, you've been exposed yet again.